Hello, my name is Jaiye Bynoe, and my guest today is Professor Ziemann from Roxbury Community College, my professor in music. Thank you, Professor, for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it, no problem. My first question is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what made you get started in music and to speak and made you want to become a professor?
Well, it's kind of a long story.
Like,
So I started playing music when I was a kid.
okay.
I started playing piano when I was really young, when I was about 5 years old. Just kind of, I think my grandparents might have had an old upright piano sitting around in their house.
Yeah.
So I would stand up on the bench and bang around on that. And so eventually, I started taking lessons, and over many years, I grew more and more interested in it. And by the time I was in high school, I started to get really serious about it. And so,
Mhm.
so I also started playing drums
Oh,
somewhere in there too. So then I went to college and started studying marimba, which falls under the category of percussion. So sort of halfway between piano and drums. Um, and and yeah, from there I've just been, kind of making a living, playing music, teaching, you know, gigging around,
ah,
living in Boston I've lived in Boston for about 12 years now.
okay.
So,
Hmm.
so yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's awesome. So, have you met any stars or played in any famous groups as a
I was trying to think about that. I wouldn't say I've played with people that were super famous, although I mean, in college, our orchestra performed. I guess these people are pretty famous. Our orchestra performed with Dawn Upshaw
oh,
and Edgar Meyer at two
mhm.
different concerts. Um, I personally have, I would say, I haven't played with a lot of famous people that are like worldly,
Mhm.
world renowned stars or anything, but I've certainly run into a couple of them here and there just at conventions and just seeing them around. But uh, yeah, I wouldn't say I've played at Carnegie Hall with Yo-Yo Ma or anything yet, but we'll see. Maybe one of these days.
Okay. So what stars have you met though? Like,
What stars have I met?
yeah.
Um, let's see. So I would say, as far as, yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking of anyone. I know I've met some people who are jazz famous, or who have worked, you know, worked on a pretty high level, but they may not be a household name. One of my favorite artists that I've met was Kamasi Washington,
Oh,
um, and he's a saxophone player. He has his own band, tours the world. He works with Kendrick Lamar and a lot of other people. He just did the Michelle Obama documentary soundtrack.
oh wow.
So I think he just won an award for that, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't really get a chance to talk with him. I was at a music festival that he played at, and I ran into him by the taco truck
Wow.
out behind the show, out behind the stage. So
Oh,
um, so yeah, but I met him. I shook hands, said hi.
wow.
Um,
You get a picture?
I don't think I got a picture. I
Oh,
think I think my phone was dead.
oh, yeah.
But yeah, missed that chance. But one of these days, maybe I'll run into him again.
Yeah, hopefully,
But
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Um, so so what kind of music do you like to perform or do you like to play?
so I play all kinds of music. I've throughout my music career, I've played pretty much you name it. I've played in a classic country band. I've played jazz, rock and roll.
Hmm.
Um, Musical theater has been one of the main things that I've done. Musical theater and most recently improv comedy,
Yeah.
uh, which isn't really a music genre, but I for the last 5 or 6 years I've performed with Improv Asylum in the North End, uh, and playing music, helping them write their songs, underscoring
Yeah.
the shows,
Hmm.
improvising along with them.
Wow.
Uh, so and that one can kind of that gig would take me into a bunch of different genres. Sometimes you're playing like a a dark, evil, moody, like scary movie soundtrack, and then the next minute you're playing a goofy pop tune.
Yeah.
So that one was fun because it kind of mixed a lot of genres together. But yeah, I think my favorite genre to play is jazz or jazz influenced music. I like improvised music a lot, and I like contemporary music, more modern experimental stuff. So that's what I'm into right now, anyway.
I hear that. So what places have you traveled to? Have you played in places like outside the US, like overseas, to play music at?
I haven't gone anywhere specifically to play music other than a rock band that I play with went on tour to Canada a couple of years ago, and so we went up to Montreal and Ottawa. But as far as just traveled, over the last 10 years, I've been lucky enough to find the time to get out and see a couple different countries. I went to Ireland a couple years ago. Before that, I went to Spain and Netherlands and Belgium. I think technically, so this counts. I went to Thailand, and on the way back, I stopped in Japan because there was a layover, and I tried to go to a music venue to see some music, and it was empty, but there were a couple people there, and so we started hanging out, and I jammed with them in that bar, in that venue, on the drums that they had in there. So technically I played in Japan, but I don't think no one asked me to, but it was technically I played in Japan. I'm really big in that one bar, but
yeah, that's awesome. I always want to go to Japan myself, Hey,
it's a great place. The one thing I would say is that the people that I met there were so hospitable, and I feel like they just they saw that I was not from there, and they immediately wanted to help me out and hang out with me and be my friend. And I think there's a cultural difference between there and here. I think in the US, people often see tourists as someone that you have to put up with, and you're not happy to see them. But I think it's the opposite in many other places, especially places like Japan. So I think it really taught me that it's like, hey, you need to make sure you go out of your way to help people out and show them around and show them a cool restaurant, or hang out with them, make sure they're having a good time if they're visiting your country.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you should definitely check it out.
Yes, it sounds. Hope someday I'll try and get there. Absolutely, yeah. So what gives you inspiration? What gives you encouragement to play music? Where does it come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it comes from a variety of places. I think at the end of the day, the most basic thing is that I think in life you have to choose what you want to do to make you happy, and you have to find that thing as quickly as possible and do as much of that as you can, because we only have so much time on this earth. And I think for me, that's just always been the case. Music, just playing music makes me happy. It doesn't really matter what setting or even what instrument, depending on which one I'm playing or which group I'm in. It helps to find people that you connect with and that you play well with. But at the end of the day, you're still making music, and that's awesome. So I think that's the first thing. I think just, at the bottom line, it just makes me happy. But I think, art is so powerful, and it can change people, and it can change people's minds. It has changed me and changed my mind about a lot of things. And I think it's important to participate in these things that, that can change the world, as they say. And I think watching other artists inspires me the most. Watching people like Kamasi Washington, or just the various, so many people coming out every year, new people that make great music, and you get to listen to it and go, oh man, this is incredible. It just makes me want to do it too. So I think that's the big thing. You see it out in the world, and you want to join in on that.
Yes, that's cool. That's perfect. Yeah. So have you ever wanted to be a famous singer? I mean, was that your dream to be?
Yeah, it's funny. I never really wanted to sing
Mhm,
that much. Like I was always a piano player
mhm,
first, and then a drummer second, and
mhm,
then but so I never really thought of myself as a singer. But I think one of the things, and this is one of the things. Oh, sorry, headphone cable. One of the things that I teach all my students in in music theory class and even in piano class to some degree. Everyone's a singer. Every musician, even if you don't think your voice sounds that good, you have to sing a little bit. I think it's really important to practice the art of singing because it really helps you get in touch with the music. And um, when you play piano, you're you're pressing a button essentially. Your finger is pressing this button, and it makes the sound. But when you're singing, it's coming out of you.
mhm.
It's part of you, and it's a little more it's built into your body. And I think just as a holistic approach to learning music, I think singing is one of the best things you can do for yourself, no matter what your instrument is. And I've heard this from plenty of you know fantastic musicians and teachers and famous people through through various sources. It's just one of the things that everyone should do. So I think in that sense, I never wanted to become a famous singer, but I realized that singing is super important, and I've started to try to incorporate it into my music. I've mostly made instrumental music, but through musical theater and some of the stuff that I've worked on over the years, it's grown on me more and more. So I definitely see it becoming a bigger part of my life over time.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So what made you want to become? So what made you want to become a professor at Roxbury Community College? Where'd that come from?
Oh yeah, well the I think I wanted to become a professor, a couple years ago. I think I've been teaching for 5 years, 6 years. I kind of lost count, but it's you know I realized that throughout my life,
Mhm,
um, so many people have taught me so many things,
mhm,
and I realized that no matter how talented you think you are, or how much you practice, or how how much you watch on YouTube, or whatever method it is you're starting to use to get to learn the basics of music or even master it. You always need a teacher, and I've always had those people in my life. They've always come to me in one way or another, and so I think it's something that not every, but many, if not most artists uh, try to do at some point in their life. And most of the great artists that I know do this. You have to give back. And, it's, you've, I've been privileged enough to have some really amazing teachers. And so I wanted to turn around and give that back to other people. Because that also inspires me, watching people come up through the school system, and they're watching talent grow and watching people work really hard to make something happen. When students send me their mixtapes, or when they send me their albums, that's like one of my favorite things. They're like, hey professor, this is what I'm working on, check it out. That keeps me going. And one of the reasons why I love Roxbury Community College is, I think, here more than any other place, I've had more students reach out to me and say, hey, can you listen to this? Or, what do you think about, what do you think about my album? Or what do you think about me doing this thing that I want to do? Like, the people that I've met there are, you know, they're trying to make stuff happen. And I think, to me, that's everything. Um, and so, and I love Boston, and I think I wanted to, stay here and find a place that I felt like I fit into. And, so far, all the faculty, all the students, like everyone I've met there has made me feel really welcome. So I think, because I just started 2 years ago, I'm about to start my third year. So, um, so yeah, it's been great. I really love the place.
Oh, I see. That's cool. Yeah. Have you ever thought about maybe living in California with where the stars are? I mean, because most people want to go to California or New York, or Florida, especially when the snow hits, right? Because I don't know, you don't want to be somewhere where it's warm, and
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I'm originally from Chicago, and I lived in North Dakota for a while, so the snow actually doesn't bother me here. Uh, but it has definitely crossed my mind to move out to California, or I've done shows in New York, and I've worked with people in Baltimore, and I've even worked with some like Broadway musicians who, I was like, man, I would love to go hang out with them in New York and make, make music with them and maybe even play in a Broadway show someday. And the Improv Comedy Club, actually, Improv Asylum, opened up a theater down in New York a couple years ago. And so I was able to help them, start that up and help them music direct their first show there. So, and that really made me feel like, oh man, I could do more of this. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, something might take me to one of those places at some point, but the more I've gotten into teaching and the more I have stepped back from gigging full time, because I was freelancing for years and years and years, just, playing whatever shows I could play and playing wherever I could play with whoever would play with me. And I've started to zero in more on what kind of music I want to make and how I want to make it. And I think that's a much longer process than just something I can quickly throw together. And I think staying in Boston and working on that music that I want to work on is that's my number one priority right now. And, who knows where it'll take me eventually, but I think, it's nice to have this place where I feel great and welcome, and I'm happy here for now. No California dreams quite yet.
Okay, I got. So, what advice can you give somebody who wants to be a musician or wants to be a singer? What advice can you give them and give me, who wants to be a famous producer?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great question, and a lot of students ask that. It's the number one thing that I think I realized over the years is that there's no one way to do things, and there's no one path that you have to follow. I went through a very traditional path where I went to college, went to a music conservatory, graduated, started playing, freelancing, auditioning for things and whatnot. And that's just one way of doing things. I know plenty of people. If you ask every different person that you meet, they're going to have a different origin story and how they came to make the music they want to make. So I think the number one thing is realize that whatever you're doing, you're going to have to go your own way, at least a little bit. And, so don't sell yourself short. I think that's the second thing I would say. That way that you have to go, you're going to have to figure it out. And you can. Everyone can figure it out if they put their mind to it. So, you don't doubt your abilities, know what your weaknesses are and work on them. That's definitely important. You want to be self-aware of what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, and the areas that you can improve and whatnot. But don't go into it doubting yourself, thinking I can't do this, because it's not going to work if you doubt yourself. So you really have to just go for it and hope for the best. One thing that kept me going over many years of struggling through trying to make a living in a city as an artist, leap and the net will appear. It's, sometimes you just have to put yourself out there, do something. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Don't be afraid of failing, because just by doing something, just by trying really hard to make something happen, you're already succeeding. So put failure out of your mind, and something will come of it. It may not be what you expect. I think that's sort of the bottom line. But to also go off of that, like I said before, find a teacher, find someone who you connect with, that you and you may not connect with every teacher you run across, but find a teacher that you respect, who respects you, who you can work with to help develop your craft. I think that's the other thing too. And there are many teachers, and they take many different forms. So just keep your eye out for that too.
Okay, sounds okay. So how is this pandemic affecting you? Is it affecting you right now? The music, the coronavirus, is that affecting you? Because obviously you shut down doing Zoom right now. So is it affected you in a major way for gigs and shows? Because
Absolutely. Yeah. I would typically be doing a lot of shows in the summer, and the comedy club is not having shows right now. So I don't have any work through them. Um, I would sometimes do like musical theater shows, or my rock band wanted to start playing out again this summer, but we didn't have anything booked yet, but we were going to start trying to build a tour of some kind, but we had to scrap that. And yeah, I've been trying to trying to write music that I can play out. And so in that way, it has affected me in that it's sort of taken all that off the table. But I think in a good way, it's sort of forced me to sit down, come to my studio, just sit and focus and just work on making music, and not worry about any of the business side of things. Because as a teacher, that's the one great luxury, is that I have the summer off. And so I can sit and work on my own craft and practice piano. I've been playing a lot of piano this summer. That's been one silver lining. I've been playing a lot of piano, writing a lot of music, working with new software and tools that I haven't really had a chance to dig into. Obviously it's been stressful overall, and just like everyone else, just general life stress is definitely a thing. But I think I've been able to find some peace in being able to just cut everything else out that wasn't important and just focus on doing what I need to do.
Okay. And do you plan to be back at school in the fall? They might be online?
Yeah, absolutely. I will be back. I'll be teaching intro to music, world music, and music theory, which you should think about.
Yeah.
You should think about taking if you haven't already. Oh, you might have taken music theory already, didn't you? Yeah, that's right. Music theory, everything is going to be online. So for me anyway, so all my classes are going to be available. It's going to be asynchronous. So I'll be creating a class, and students will be able to proceed through the class kind of at their own pace. There will be a bit of a schedule, like when assignments are due and when one module starts and one ends, but I won't have regular class meetings like 2 or 3 times a week or anything. It'll just be sort of as needed. I'll be available for people to meet with me for extra help. But I'm in the middle right now of creating a bunch of video lectures and little performance demos, and getting my resources together to make these classes really fun and engaging, despite the fact that we're not face to face. So it bummed me out that I couldn't be face to face with everyone in the fall, but we're gonna make it happen. It's gonna be fun. I think I'm gonna make it enjoyable. Anyway.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. So, what do you think we can do to change the world, to make the world better? In your opinion, I mean, for everything that's going on, I mean, the George Floyd incident, was a killing hit. What do you think we can do to make the world better? Because it's kind of scary out there.
It is really scary out there. I think, I think that's a question that everyone needs to ask themselves. And I think the number one thing is we just have to listen to each other. If there's someone who's saying something that they're not being represented, or that they feel like someone is out to get them, or that they're feeling disenfranchised or attacked, um, we need to listen. I think that's the number one thing. We need to listen to each other, and every community has to support every other community, whether or not we agree with them on everything. And I think that's the big thing. You know, we have to be better at getting along. But as far as, you know, what we can directly do, I think, you know, the number one thing is, you know, protest when you have to protest, donate when you have to donate, when there are people that, you know, that you, when there are organizations that you trust and that you feel are doing the right thing, donate to them, make sure that they're supported. If you need help, reach out to the right organizations. And, you know, I think we just need to fund education in the arts. That's, you know, really at the end of the day, I think it's that same old story that we've been fighting. You know, I say we collectively, everyone's been fighting this. You know, we want books, not bombs. We want musical instruments. We want education for everyone who wants it. And I think that needs to be something that people ask for a little louder than they are. I mean, I know there are a lot of people asking for it, but we need to really make sure that we get that, because that's the one thing that can save the world, I think.
Yes, that's good answer. Yeah. So what like to do in your spare time, in your free time, besides record music? You know, what do you...
Honestly, most of the time I don't have that free time. It's just music. But you know, and right now all of my other activities that I like to do are sort of off limits. I love going to shows. That's, you know, one of my favorite things. Love being outside. Love going camping. That isn't off limits, but you know, camping, hiking, being outdoors, just going out of the city to enjoy some peace and quiet. That's sort of what I'm limited to. Because yeah, I miss going to see, you know, musical events and plays and comedy and whatnot. But I also like to write. But that's, yeah, read some books. I think that takes up most of my time.
I see. Have you ever thought about being a famous actor?
You know, yeah, it's funny. It has crossed my mind a couple times. I think, I don't know about being famous, but that sounds very stressful. But I think, you know, I've actually done some shows over the years which involved me acting a little bit in tiny ways that are not, you know, not really worthy of considering me to be an actor. But I think acting is something that people should definitely seriously consider studying, because it really applies to public speaking, and it applies to just learning how to get along with people and learning how to work in a group. And it's just very good for you overall. And I think I've hung around enough actors over many years that I've definitely picked up on the actor vibe a little bit. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say no to acting in something. One of the shows that I did in Baltimore back 2017, 2016, just a couple of years ago, was it involved me playing music, but I was on stage. There, and all the musicians were in costume, and we had parts where we had to act. And mine wasn't a spoken part, but you know, I got to walk around on stage and do some things with some of the actors. And so yeah, it was really fun, and I would definitely do it again if someone asked me to.
Yeah, I'm trying to be active myself, so yeah, I took acting class for 2 years. So yeah, so I hope that.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It definitely helps with just, you know, helping us feel confident in, you know, speaking in front of people, performing, being a little weird. I think the funny thing about actors is that they're used to, you know, doing silly things. Half the acting warm-ups are, you know, involve being pretty silly in front of each other and getting your energy way up. So I think it's a good skill to be able to turn on when you need it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. So if you want a musician or a professor, what would you think you might want to be if you want into music, you know, or teaching? What else would you want to be?
Wow, that's a great question. I think if if I could be anything, I think if I weren't able to play music or teach, I would be a writer. That was one of the other dreams that I've had, and I still write a lot. I'm not as much as I used to, but I used to write a lot of poetry. I, I actually, in fact, this summer I started trying to sketch out some larger writing projects, maybe a story of some kind. I'm not really sure where it's taken me yet, but I think I would probably be a writer if I had no other choice. If I could be a musician.
I see. Would you think you might want to be president of the U.S., United States?
I don't think I want that job.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like at least half of the whole country is mad at you at any given point.
Yeah. So where can we find you on social media? Do you have any work on social media, like poetry or albums on social media or on YouTube? We can check you out.
Right now, I personally have been laying low a little bit. I try to avoid social media, and currently the projects that I'm working on. So I'm working on an album right now, and I hope to have it out later this year, or within the next year, depending on how things go. But I'll probably I don't have any sort of promotion for that yet. But when it gets a little closer, I'll definitely be promoting it. The rock band that I play with is called Instant Shawarma, and you can find them on if you go to instantshawarma.band, or I think if you type in Instant Shawarma, it's one of the only things that comes up. We're on Instagram and Facebook. I'm not on Facebook personally, but I know the band is. So we have, if you go to the instantshawarma.band, an album, our demo album that came out a couple of years ago, that's up there. I'm playing drums on that one. But yeah, other than that, unfortunately, a lot of the theater shows that I've done are all live performances. So you kind of had to be there.
See, okay. So what are your plans? For the rest of the summer? Any special plan for the rest of the summer? Or?
Well, other than working on trying to get this album going, right now I'm focused mostly on getting ready for school in the fall, because the online classes are going to involve a lot more, making some videos, making some, presentations, and setting up the classroom space so that it's easy for everyone to use. So I think, that was my plan to, in August, just to really focus on that. So that's probably the main thing I'm going to be doing, but definitely going to continue to try to get outside and go see some trees.
Okay. Do you have any more travel plans planned, or you're not sure yet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any other country is going to let us in if I try to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. I would love to go somewhere warm sometime this year. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm going to have to play that by ear.
So yeah, the beast being a cold,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, this is a great interview. I definitely appreciate your time. It was a great interview, So good to talk to you.
Yeah.
And learn a little more about you and the story, and I'm gonna make sure I send a video to you, okay? And I'll try to have BNN play, But yeah, this is great, I'm glad I got to talk to you more about you as a teacher, professor, your music, Yeah, it's very inspiring.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was great, and I'll just let me know if you ever want me to do another one. I'm happy to come on and talk about anything.
Okay, let's be in touch. I appreciate your time. Absolutely, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Jaiye.
Take care. You have a good night. Okay, thank you again.
All right, bye.